Hello, and welcome to Tina Talks. This is CMMC Made Simple, what every aerospace supplier needs to know. This is episode 4 in a 5-part series on the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Last time, we tried to simplify the difference between FCI, or Federal Contract Information, and CUI, Controlled Unclassified Information. Acronym City, we all gotta love it, right? But what does CMMC actually require you to do? You may have heard this phrase, and I certainly have quite a bit, but this is not just an IT problem. And IT is not the only group from your organization that needs to be involved in addressing the CMMC requirements. Major parts of CMMC affect people and how those people function and operate within your systems, the processes that you have in place, certainly the technology that you have in place, but also the documentation that describes your people, your processes, and your technology. All of those things are necessary to be fully compliant and meet the intent of CMMC. The resources that you're going to need are your people, your tools, consumables, and your facilities. All of those things are affected and have different requirements within the CMMC model. So you might have heard me talking about the difference between FCI and CUI and how that made a difference between level 1 and level 2. Well, here are some other differences. Again, the data type is critical, whether it's federal contract information or controlled unclassified information. And the assessment type is different. FCI with a level 1 requirement requires an annual self-assessment, whereas a level 2 requires a third-party assessment. Both of them require an annual affirmation inside the SPRS system, or SIPRS, or SPRS, or however you refer to the acronym. But here's where you see a huge difference. Level 1, 15 security requirements that address basic cyber hygiene. Level 2, hold on to your seats, requires 110 security requirements and advanced cyber controls because it's controlled unclassified information. The government has specific controls in place. For level 1, the rule that's applicable is FAR Clause 52.204-21, and for level 2, the standard that's applicable is NIST SP 800-171 Revision 2, or Revision 3 if it's out by the time you're watching this. So typically level 1 is going to be many of your small or mid-sized suppliers. You may only be really required to get to level 1. That's 15 security requirements. It's not the end of the world, and it's not going to cost you $1 bajillion. For level 2, those are higher risk contractors, and as such, they should have those additional security requirements and controls in place. So here are some of the categories that are contained within CMMC. Access. Essentially, access to data. You need to limit and control access to information, whether it's CUI or FCI. Passwords. No more 123456789. That is just not an acceptable password. The complexity of the password, the combination of letters, numbers, capitals, special symbols, all of that is addressed, and you must have complexity for your required passwords, especially if that's what you're using to access information. Also, rotation. Gone are the days when we set that one password 15 years ago and it's the same one we're using today. Not so much. You need to rotate your passwords because guess what? The bad guys figured it out. Just adding another exclamation point to the end doesn't always make it secure. Also, training. You have to ensure that your employees have awareness. Do they know what CMMC is? Maybe they don't need to know what the acronym is, but they certainly should understand that it's addressing cybersecurity and maybe at least a baseline understanding of what that is and how to ensure that your company is enacting cybersecurity. Also, your devices. How are your networks set up? What are the controls in place? Can anyone externally access anything on your system through your network? Hopefully not. Also, incident reporting. You may think that this is just not applicable to you because you've never had a cybersecurity incident. However, you need to have a plan in place. When it happens, what do you do? If your response is, I don't know, then you need to address incident reporting within your system and what you plan to do. There are a lot of ways that you can make plans based on what the requirements are without having ever had to actually perform that function. It's about making the plan, putting the plan in place, and training people so that they understand what the plan is and how they should act should something happen. There's a lot of what ifs in security and cybersecurity. So let's make sure we are doing the best we can to have a plan in place. The biggest misconception that you can have is, well, we have antivirus software, so we're done. Norton's going to protect us, right? McAfee? Well, nope. That protects a small portion of your systems and or your data. And yes, you should have antivirus software and make sure that that's being addressed. But there are a lot of additional aspects, as we've discussed previously. Your system as a whole, your people, facility access, all of those things are a part of cybersecurity and CMMC. So what is evidence? Because evidence is a big component. Yes, you have to meet either 15 or 110 security controls, but you have to prove it. You can't just say, yes, we do this. So having an understanding of what evidence your assessor would want to see or what you need to make sure you see if you're doing an internal assessment is pretty critical. I think an example I would give here is the password requirement. If the password requirement is a certain number of characters and a certain combination of types of characters, then that rule probably exists somewhere within your system and can be shown to an assessor, or you can take a screenshot of the rule itself and use that as your piece of evidence if you don't want to actively log into your system to show your assessor. It is critical that you be able to prove that you have those rules in place. So another example to follow up with that would be allowing them to see you log into your system. Not so much the exact characters that you're typing, but how long is it taking you? How many clicks is it taking you to do your login? Because that's evidence too. It's evidence by example. So you want to keep in mind, what would an assessor want to see? So the best framework I'd also like to give here is cybersecurity is like a house. You don't just have a foundation. A foundation doesn't make a house. You also have to have walls, a roof, a security system, antivirus, no. And you have to maintain that system. You have to have a maintenance plan for your house. You have to know when you want to pressure wash or when to change your air conditioning filters. Things like that are all part of the big picture of owning your home and having your house. Well, the same applies to CMMC. There's a lot of different items that go into the big picture of cybersecurity for your organization. So, story time. What was the most surprising thing a client discovered during a gap assessment? I think what I've seen so far is that the most surprising thing to a lot of the very small companies I'm working with is that they actually have some controls in place and they didn't even realize those were controls. And they were actually meeting pretty easily several of the security requirements that were needed for CMMC. Surprise, you're not starting at zero. You probably already have some stuff in place. Good job. Now we're just going to build on that and get you the whole house. So I hope that you learned the golden nugget for this episode is that CMMC is about people and processes as much as the technology that you have in place. I hope you like and subscribe, and certainly stay tuned for our next episode when we're going to talk about how to prepare for CMMC without a full-blown panic. We don't want that to happen. If you were wondering, who can you contact for help? Well, perhaps the answer is me, your compliance specialist. My name is Tina Leety. I'm the proud owner and primary consultant for Cloud 10 Services. My email address is on the screen, tina@cloud10services.com. And I'm here to help you elevate your business. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.